And now, Kaity, Tong, Jack Cafferty, Jerry GIRARD with sports, and Bob Harris with the weather. The Emmy Award-winning Channel 11 News at 10.
Good evening and Happy New Year to you. 1993 is getting off to a joyous start for a family on Long Island.
83-year-old George K. disappeared without a trace New Year's Eve after leaving home to go shopping. His family searched everywhere for him, and they fear the worst. But tonight, a happy ending to their story and a bright beginning to their new year. Jason Carroll is standing by live right now at the K home in West Hempstead. Jason?
Kaity, I'm standing in the home of 83-year-old George K. He disappeared yesterday after becoming disoriented, but tonight he is back with his family for a much-awaited reunion.
You
okay?
Yeah. Now she's fine. Yeah.
This is what the K family has been waiting for. Safe return of 83-year-old George K. He's been missing since 2 o'clock yesterday after driving to this Italian restaurant a mile from his home. He was found this evening in the Bronx, tired and disoriented, his son describing what happened.
He was found parked the wrong way on a one-way street in the Bronx, and someone was nice enough to call the emergency medical service and report it, so they picked him up and brought him over to the hospital.
Tonight, his family is relieved knowing Kay is safe. For a while, they suspected the worst may have happened.
I thought of the worst. I thought he was mugged, and they drove him someplace far away, and I didn't know if anybody would ever find him.
The family plans to have doctors test Kay for Alzheimer's disease, an illness which causes memory loss.
We certainly want to bring him to a doctor to make sure this is what it is. If it can be treated with a couple of drugs, we certainly want to do it. We love him, we care about him. Taking a car away is a terrible thing because I suppose as you get older, it's the only thing you can hold on to that gives you some degree of independence.
Now, apparently, Kay ended up in a neighborhood that he lived in almost 30 years ago. He was too weak to talk with us tonight. He has been taken to a nearby hospital for observation, but once again, his family is just glad to have him back, and now they can begin celebrating the new year. Live from West Hempstead, I'm Jason Carroll. Let's go back to Kaity and Jack in the studio.
All right, Jason, thanks very much. There is growing anxiety and frustration, meanwhile, in the case of 10-year-old Kaity Beers on Long Island. Police remain baffled by her disappearance, and they're afraid now they might be running out of time. Long Island correspondent Drew Scott has the latest for us.
Kaity Beers has been missing without a trace for 5 days now, and police seem to have run out of leads. Now a psychic who assisted police in the recent Exxon executive kidnapping in New Jersey claims to know where the abducted youngster is.
Well, I'm getting a reading that this young girl was being chased by a male through these woods, and there's 2 men involved, and we're at the location here.
Are they both strangers to her?
One she knows.
No word today from John Esposito, who last saw the child, or Sal Ingaleri, accused of sexually abusing her last October. But a person at the Spaceplex says some of the kidnap story doesn't piece together. Now, Monday night, did you see John here?
Yes.
What caused you to remember him?
I was talking to him for a long period of time in the office, but I was the manager on duty when the whole situation happened.
And did he seem pretty distressed?
Yes.
But you never saw the girl?
No.
After running a quarter-mile through the woods from the Spaceplex, police believe that this is the phone where Kaity Beers made her frantic call to her aunt in Bay Shore, saying that she was being kidnapped by a man with a knife. After she said that, the line went dead, and police theorized that she ran across the street and into the woods.
But a gas station attendant who sat 20 feet away from the phone Monday night says he saw nothing out of the ordinary. Did you see her?
No. No one's seen anything. We don't even know what really happened. I mean, we didn't see anybody. We didn't see any vehicles by the phone. We don't even know. I don't even think she was here.
Cops today continued to search Esposito's house. They searched a wooded area near the Spaceplex, and though not saying it publicly, are becoming more pessimistic about finding the missing youngster alive. From Long Island, Drew Scott, Channel 11, News at 10.
This item just into the Channel 11 newsroom. 3 people are said to be dead, struck by a car in Kew Garden section of Queens tonight. The pedestrians were crossing the street at 83rd Avenue and Queens Boulevard when they were hit. Police have a driver in custody. We'll have more for you on the story as it develops a bit later in the broadcast. Kaity?
It was a dramatic scene in Washington Heights early this morning as a firefighter tied rope around his partner and lowered him down the side of a building in an attempt to rescue a man hanging from a ledge. One of those firefighters was involved in a similar rescue attempt just a year and a half ago. And Helen Johnson has more now on this hero.
It was the morning after in the firehouse on 181st Street in Washington Heights, a morning of hot coffee and special congratulations by the chief for a heroic rescue.
Congratulations again. Skip forward.
The reason for the congratulations, firefighter Pat Barr did it again. This was Barr a year and a half ago, hanging from a 12-story building in Manhattan, saving a trapped worker. It was the middle of the day then, a far cry from early this morning, when a man attempted to jump out his 5th-floor window, and Barr had to keep him from falling.
I just talked to him and I tried to control him. I just let him know that I felt confident, and I tried to relay that confidence to him.
Inside the apartment, a family was wrapping up a New Year's Eve party. There was an argument, and one 29-year-old man went into the bedroom by himself, came out the window with the blue shade, and somehow stepped across to the kitchen where the pink sheet is. If it wasn't for the fast action of his brother-in-law and 2 other men, the victim may have jumped to his death. Do you think you could have held him any longer?
I don't think, yeah, I didn't, I did my best, but I was getting tired, Thanks God the police, arrived and the firemen.
I hardly, when I make sure the firemen come and tie him, I say, okay, God bless him.
Meanwhile, the man's wife ran to the firehouse to get help. When firefighters arrived, they found the window overlooked a small courtyard with no access from the street. And as firefighter Don Galeotto showed us today, that's when they decided to go from the roof. Hanging by rope, Patrick Barr held the 260-pound man to the ledge. Other firefighters squeezed into the tiny kitchen window and pulled them to safety.
Patty was hanging down there with Don holding him for approximately 15 minutes while we secured the window and found a proper area to bring him in.
What made this such a difficult thing to do?
At the time of night, we were doing it in the dark. We knew we had somebody hanging there. We didn't know how long he was hanging.
The victim was taken to a nearby hospital for observation. For the men of Ladder Company 45, it was a dramatic beginning to the new year, but most of them say it was just a team effort. It was the kind of work done by New York's bravest. In Washington Heights, I'm Helen Johnson, Channel 11 News at 10.
All over the city last night, New Yorkers came together to celebrate the arrival of the new year. But when it comes to New Year's Eve celebrations, Times Square is the center of the world. Last night was no exception. It was one of the biggest turnouts ever. An estimated 300,000 people packed Times Square last night, and from all accounts, it was a perfect evening. Just one arrest for disorderly conduct, and what a sight when 1.5 tons of confetti rained down on the crowd. No sooner had the crowd begun to disperse than an army of people moved in to go to work on the mess, everything from broom pushers to street cleaners. By morning, things looked pretty much like they always do in Times Square. A short distance away, a new crowd was forming, lured by the scent of a home-cooked meal. Radio personality Bob Law and members of the National Black Network were serving free New Year's Day meals to the homeless. Some people will do anything to get on television. These are the polar bears. They gathered for their annual New Year's Day swim in the Atlantic this afternoon. Those are people who have some parts on order that haven't arrived in the mail yet. You know
every year, exactly.
Well,
See this every year. I can't believe it.
I know. But you know what? One arrest in Times Square last night. New Yorkers deserve to pat themselves on the back.
Said it.
That's amazing.
Absolutely.
Right.
All right, at a time when the environment has become a key concern, store owners in Suffolk County are going to have to rethink their packaging strategy. A law banning the sale of all food items packaged in plastic and styrofoam goes into effect today. And though it's been a year since that law was passed, food service people say no one is following the packaging guidelines.
You know, I'm a blue-collar store. I work at a very low profit margin. And to start buying more expensive products to sell to people, then I'm going to have to raise my prices. And it's not going to make me do any better, and it's going to affect small business all over. And that's what keeps Long Island going, is small business.
The ban won't actually be enforced until early March. In the meantime, some opponents will have a chance to try to rescind it. If they don't succeed in doing that, however, store owners who violate this ban will find themselves paying a $500 fine.
Many of you undoubtedly celebrated the New Year in memorable fashion, but probably none as memorable as one couple in Brooklyn. Karen Hasby rang in 1993 with the first baby of the new year.
She arrived one day after her due date, but her parents are not complaining about this baby's timing. Making an appearance at 15 seconds after midnight, Beverly Ann Gonzalez delighted everyone at Brooklyn Hospital by becoming the city's first New Year baby.
My chief resident was watching the clock, and then he tell me about the time, and I said, okay, let's go for it.
Everybody was happy, but then everybody left me by myself. Everybody went running around, going crazy.
No one left her alone today. This mom spent the morning telling reporters how her baby entered the record books. There's even more to this baby's story than the timing of her birth. Consider that her parents had dated in junior high school, gone their separate ways, had unsuccessful marriages to other people, but then found each other again, gotten married, wanted to have a family, but there were some medical complications. Elizabeth had had her tubes tied and had to have that reversed to have the baby.
I went through the procedures and gave him his first daughter. Had a second pregnancy, but didn't succeed. And had a third pregnancy, and here she goes.
So after all that surgery and all that time, this is really a miracle baby?
Yes, she is.
Beverly Ann goes home with 4 older siblings and a dad who spent much of today snoozing, as did the young lady who caused all the excitement. At Brooklyn Hospital, Karen Hasby, Channel 11 News at 10.
Baby unimpressed with all the excitement.
Tired.
Yeah, very. We do have a lot more to tell you about tonight. It was a New Year's Day filled with emotion for President Bush as he winds up his visit to Somalia with a stop at a crowded orphanage.
Some tense moments at the Rose Bowl parade in Pasadena today when demonstrators tried to take over one of the floats.
We'll tell you why there's no more horsing around in one New Jersey town.
We'll show you the hottest trend in television programs for the new year. Science fiction fans will love it. Stay with us.
Gene Randall covers the president's busy day.
President Bush spent most of his time, again on Friday, visiting with U.S. troops in Baidoa, northwest of Mogadishu.
Same to you.
At Baladogle, the first military objective outside Mogadishu taken by U.S.-led coalition forces. At Mogadishu Airport, where he met with military commanders from the various countries serving in the coalition. But the president emphasized that Operation Restore Hope was dominated by a U.S. presence, and he knows U.S. troops think a lot about getting home.
And I think you've done a superb job at all of that. I expect everybody is wondering, well, that's great, but how long? And I wish I knew the answer. I wish I knew the answer, but I do know that it's not an open-ended commitment. The definition of our mission is clear under the United Nations guidelines.
The president also had a close-up look Friday at the ravages of famine and civil war when he stopped at an orphanage in Baidoa, where he praised the work of the volunteers and where the children did their best to make Mr. Bush feel welcome. Mr. Bush said repeatedly on Friday that what he saw here convinced him more than ever of the rightness of this humanitarian mission. And the president told CNN he was confident that his successor, Bill Clinton, would carry on with the U.S. commitment in Somalia.
He was very encouraging about my coming here, and I expect he'll be a very good commander-in-chief, and I think he knows very clearly the importance of the work, humanitarian work, that all these men and women are doing.
Security for the president's visit worked well, though there had to be some anxious moments Thursday night during a heavy round of Klan fighting on the northern outskirts of Mogadishu, shelling which continued sporadically Friday morning. U.S. military officials cited Klan reports of 17 killed and 25 wounded.
We are working with the 2 clans involved to try to bring them together and solve this dispute that they have peacefully.
Though the commander of U.S. forces here says he is not overly concerned.
Shooting at each other, they've been doing that for decades. Not that we're not concerned about it, but certainly it did not pose any direct threat to us. We just need to locate where the weapons are and eliminate them.
Still, the president's scheduled departure from Mogadishu Saturday morning would cause a major sigh of relief. Mr. Bush says he will share what he learned in Somalia with Bill Clinton when he returns home. And the president said he believes Clinton will be a good commander-in-chief. Gene Randall's Mogadishu.
President Bush is off to Moscow next for his last summit meeting with Russian President Boris Yeltsin. They'll be signing that landmark nuclear disarmament treaty. Then on Sunday, Bush will fly to Paris for a meeting with French President Francois Mitterrand.
Meanwhile, President-elect Bill Clinton marked the new year with a little business, a little pleasure at a southern vacation resort. Clinton played golf at Hilton Head Island in South Carolina. He's there attending the Renaissance Weekend, an annual get-together of business and media executives. He also went jogging on the beach this morning, sort of hitting the new year running, if you'll Forgive that phrase.
And New York City Mayor David Dinkins taking a trip to Puerto Rico tonight, mixing statesmanship with politics. Dinkins is flying there to attend the inauguration of Governor Pedro Rosello, but he'll be also representing New York with its large Latino population that he's wooing for next year's election. City Council President Andrew Stein, who is challenging Dinkins for mayor, is also making that trip.
New York City's public schools are in bad shape, and it's going to take $24 billion over the next 10 years to fix them up. The New York Times reports that money's needed to fix leaking roofs, clogged toilets, furnaces that still burn coal, and buildings that are simply beyond repair. The request for the money will come in the form of a report to be submitted to the Board of Education in 2 weeks by the school's chancellor, Joseph Fernandez. But some school officials say that City Hall will approve just a fraction of that money being requested.
It doesn't have to be a horse of a different color. It could be a horse of any color. But when it comes to replacing the stallion of their dreams, some Westfield, New Jersey police officers aren't, you guessed it, horsing around. Our Laura Fairworth explains all this.
Talk about a one-horse town. Westfield, New Jersey is now a no-horse town. Ever since the Union County Police Department's only horse named Track died 2 years ago, the cops have been without a mounted unit. And that breaks a long-seated tradition, 60 years of equestrian excellence. Officer Daniel Ward, for one, would like to get back in the saddle again.
When they see the presence of the mounted officer on horse, they're just, you know...
Afraid?
Not afraid, but they're basically not going to do the wrong thing.
Money is tight in the county, and so the department is hoping someone will donate a horse that can fill Track's hooves.
Track was an excellent police horse. We only hope that the horse that we get to replace Track will at least follow his hoof print, so to speak.
For parades and special events, the department borrows horses from this stable owned by the county. But what they'd really like for the new year is a gelding, 15 hands high, that they can train in police business.
I think they need it, and be great for the horse, too.
A majestic beast like this one would be used for patrols in the woods, crowd control, and, well, it's good public relations.
It's good for the department, it's good for the people, and the people see the police in a friendlier type of atmosphere. Let's face it, who's going to walk up to a police car and pet it?
And so officers wait and hope for the day they will once again be able to gallop off into the sunset. In New Jersey, Laurel Fairworth, Channel 11, News at 10.
Still ahead tonight, how would you like to be awakened in the middle of the night and told a truck full of missiles crashed outside your house? It happened to some people in Louisiana. We'll tell you about it.
And led by Hurricane Andrew, 1992 was a record year for disaster declarations in the United States. We'll tell you how many and the cost of rebuilding coming up.
Dirty Harry is his idol.
Works for me.
So the cops know what to expect.
This is Sergeant Hunter. My biggest migraine. There is no cause for alarm.
Hey, you want to be my partner? But the killers don't.
Well, punk, you gotta go for it.
Brian Dennehy, Stephanie Kramer, Fred Driver.
I'll be your worst nightmare.
Hunt. Saturday at 5 on Channel 11.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I can't afford a new car. What kind of a car will I get for the budget I'm on anyway? I mean, I'm not going to drive some no-room, stripped-down econo-box. And I can't put a lot of money down either. I'd like to see the guy's face when I say, so what do you got?
Lease a Nissan Sentra XE for just $169 a month for 36 months from now till January 5th.
In an uncharted corner of the galaxy, a legend has been trapped in time for 75 years. Haunted by the past, he yearns for another call to action. But the future holds no place for him.
As one engineer to another, I can do this.
Can he become a hero one last time?
It's coming apart, lad.
Scotty returns next time on Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Saturday night at 7.
12 surface-to-air missiles overturned on Interstate 20 near their homes. 1,000 people had to be evacuated. Today, they were told it was all right to go back inside. The shipment of missiles was bound for Texarkana, Texas. The driver and passenger in the privately owned truck had to be hospitalized. Army officials removed the missiles from the truck, none of which was damaged. New Jersey fire officials still don't know what caused a Christmas Day fire in a power plant that killed 3 workers. A preliminary report says the plant had all the modern technology for handling fires. Nevertheless, 3 workers died, trapped by thick reinforced glass in the plant's upstairs control room. No cause has been determined yet, but a full investigation is set to get underway Monday.
Locals starting the new year wanting more money. The Long Island Lighting Company has filed a request for a 6.7% increase in natural gas rates for residential customers. And if approved, the average bill for heating and cooking with natural gas would go up $16 per month to $241 per month. Well, there's been some strong reaction to the health insurance rates hike by Empire Blue Cross, and some of those who will be hardest hit are preparing to fight the increase. Holly Levis has this story.
Last night, when the ball dropped at midnight, while others were toasting in the new year with champagne, my quarterly Blue Cross premium went up from $557 per quarter to $890 per quarter.
It's unbelievable. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, you've got to pay it.
I've applied for another group. I'm leaving Blue Cross.
But some of the less fortunate people in New York State don't have that luxury, at least the way it stands tonight. The Cuomo administration granted a huge rate hike to New York State's largest insurer. Empire Blue Cross and Blue Shield, the insurer of last resort, will raise the rates of 1.4 million New Yorkers, effective immediately. Increases will go as high as 59% in some cases. Those hit hardest are individual and small business policy holders and people who have Medicare supplemental coverage.
The priorities of this rate increase and the way you're dealing with it and the politics of it, I think, are really despicable.
But efforts are already being organized to fight back. Members of New Yorkers for Accessible Health Coverage, a coalition of over 40 voluntary health organizations, say it's possible that this decision may be overturned. Karen Timor of ACT UP.
Negotiations are ongoing, that in fact there are several plans on the table right now. They're under negotiation, and this was basically a political hot potato.
This is such horrendous policy that we simply have to act to roll it back.
Some speculate that this rate increase was imposed to apply pressure to the state legislature. Would you agree with that?
There has been a lot of politicking going on that has led to bad medicine for healthcare consumers and bad policy making.
So what can you do to make a difference? Speak up.
If people respond to this, if the policyholders of Blue Cross Blue Shield call their legislatures, call the governor, and demand that we want this to stop.
If they act, if they get upset, if they call, and if they realize that they can make a difference by doing this, then I think that we can get this rollback.
As the price of health insurance goes up at Blue Cross Blue Shield, more New Yorkers will become uninsured. People will get sicker, treatment will be delayed longer, and New York State will ultimately have to pick up the tab. It's a quick fix that won't fix anything. In Manhattan, Holly Levis, Channel 11 News at 10.
1992 will go into the record books as the worst year for disasters ever in the United States. The federal government declared 45 major disaster areas in the country last year, up from 43 the year before. The bill for emergency relief coming in at over $3 billion. The costliest of the disasters was Hurricane Andrew, with an emergency relief price tag at almost $2 billion. The East Coast suffered almost half of 1992's disasters, including last month's big nor'easter, but the hardest hit state was California. The Los Angeles riots, which are being chalked up as a man-made disaster, cost the federal government $235 million in disaster aid. California also suffered millions more in earthquake damages.
Happy news in California today. New Year's Day marked by the 104th annual Tournament of the Roses Parade. The procession featured 57 spectacular floats covered by hundreds of thousands of flowers. Reporter Ann McDermott got an early start on this story.
Nothing like sleeping on cement to ring in the new year. That's what thousands of people in Pasadena did. The better to get a front row sidewalk for the Rose Parade. It was cold out, so some kept warm by singing. Some kept warm with fires. A lucky few were born warm.
Dog is better off than anyone else here, actually.
And as the sun began to rise, officials vacuumed the streets. Yes, vacuumed the streets. The Rose Queen and the court did their final interviews. So did a horse, but enough with such silliness. To these participants, the parade is serious business. And finally, it got underway. It's not all fun and flowers here, but what's a parade without a little controversy? Like these animal rights activists who tried to disrupt General Motors' float, claiming GM has used animals in crash tests. No GM officials could be reached for comment. Then there's the complaints that the parade's hierarchy doesn't include enough minorities.
The impact and the effect of what they're doing is racist.
The parade's president said working for the organization is the way to advance.
The minorities are welcome to join and volunteer and have as much fun as we have.
Plenty of people were having fun, watching the parade pass them by. Why is this man laughing? Well, it seems he loves his work.
You ready?
Apparently, great satisfaction can be derived from cleaning up after horses. Ann McDermott, Pasadena, California.
In Philadelphia, residents welcomed the new year with an old tradition there, the Mummers Parade. That parade dates back to the early 1700s when people marked the holiday drinking, fighting, and shooting guns at one another. Today, the parade is just as crazy, with marchers dressing up as clowns, piglets, and crash test dummies. Not as dangerous, though. Still ahead on the Channel 11 News at 10, we are going to be going back to Kew Gardens in Queens for a live report on a fatal automobile accident. 3 people were killed. There is 1 man been arrested by police, and we'll have a live report for you.
And new reports tonight that
Action! Outer space is obviously where the action is on television in 1993. The new science fiction show with the purest heritage is Star Trek Deep Space Nine. It takes place at the same time as Star Trek The Next Generation, where the Federation takes over a creaky old space station in the middle of a volatile section of the galaxy. As opposed to the disciplined environment of a starship, Deep Space Nine is likely to see more conflict.
GIRARD, what's up?
But at the same time, Warner Brothers is readying Babylon 5 for syndication. It's about a courageous group running a space station in a volatile section of the galaxy. And there's no lack of urgent missions at Fort Hope, where the Space Rangers try to maintain some semblance of order despite the budget cuts. Space Rangers creator Penn Densham, one of the writers on Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, says he was going for a different field than Star Trek.
It's become much more a drama and not quite so much an adventure. And I'd say they're sort of like, they do it wonderfully. They do what they do so well, but it's like classical music. And I want ours to be rock and roll.
Advances in special effects are one reason why there's a bumper crop of science fiction this season. That's especially true of Babylon 5, where some remarkably sophisticated special effects are being created very inexpensively on computers that are little different from a household PC.
This is the first time anybody has attempted, really, to do VFX for an entire TV show just on personal computers.
The other reason for a virtual nebula of science fiction shows? Star Trek The Next Generation has enjoyed a spectacularly large and loyal audience in syndication for the last 6 years. And there could well be more. 2 more science fiction action shows, Exo Squad and Sequest, are being prepared and could follow where these shows have gone before. Dennis Michaels, Hollywood.
Well,
yes.
Here we are.
Yes, indeed.
More Star Trek information.
No, well, hopefully no more, but some more weather information for the first day of 93.
93.
Cold.
That's the understatement of the year so far. Temperatures just plummeted in 24 hours. I'll let you know how cold it's going to get tonight. Don't go away. You'll want to know.
Clearance.
Well, if you missed it, it was just yesterday we were talking about high temperatures in the 60s. Today, boy, the temperature has plummeted some 30 degrees. Here's what's happened since midnight. At midnight, when you were ringing in the new year, it was 55 degrees out there. By 5 o'clock in the morning, 44. By noon, 38. And right now, 28 chilly degrees. Boy, has it dropped. Here's a look at what's going on in Central Park right now. The temperature continues to plummet across the area. Overnight lows down into the teens. The humidity now at 45%. Winds are out of the north at 14, ushering in that much colder air, the barometer rising, and we have clear skies. Look at the temperatures all across the tri-state at this hour. Holding generally in the mid-20s, 25 degrees now in Islip. We'll take a look at the graphics. Clear skies across the area. We have some light scattered showers. It was quick, wasn't it? 25 for Islip, 24 for New Haven, 25 Morristown, 24 Trenton. Overnight lows, as I mentioned, in the teens, possibly even the single digits north and west of the city. Here's a look at the wind chill factor. We've got winds out of the north now around 15 miles per hour to 20 miles per hour, gusting at times around 25 miles per hour. The wind chill factor in Central Park, it feels like 4 above, 2 below right now is what it feels like in New Haven, 7 above for islip. Morristown in 7, yes, it was yesterday. We were in the 50s. What a change. Here's a look now at the satellite picture. You can see what happened. Arctic high pressure built into the area. It will clear these clouds out, clearing skies all across the area today. A little bit of cloudiness sitting to the west. No real problem. This is all just lake effect clouds, lake effect snows from Ohio over into Pennsylvania. For tomorrow, that high pressure system dominates once again. High sitting right on top of us. With that high, we'll have lots of sunshine. Northerly breezes continuing tomorrow. There are the northerly breezes. The winds will die down in the afternoon, but it will remain cold. Here's the forecast for tomorrow. Lots of sunshine. High just 38 degrees, 5 days ahead. It doesn't really warm up until we start to get to the middle of the week. On Wednesday, Tuesday, 45. By Wednesday, we're back to 36. But first, Saturday, 38 degrees. Sunday, look for some rain possibly later in the day. On Monday, go back to the rain. Tuesday, more rain, as I mentioned. Partly cloudy on Wednesday and 36 degrees. Hope you enjoy your new year.
All right, Linda, you too. We're going to go live now to the scene of a breaking story. One of the top stories we told you about earlier today, a fatal car accident in Kew Gardens, Queens. 3 people are dead. Deborah Quintana is standing by with a live report for us. Deborah?
We're still gathering information, but this is apparently what has happened. We're at 83rd Avenue and Queens Boulevard. 3 pedestrians were crossing the street and were killed instantly. We're going to go to the videotape now that we've gotten just from the scene just a few minutes ago. Well, on that tape, you will be seeing that apparently 3 people were killed, as I said, 2 women and 1 man. They were crossing the street when a driver traveling at a very high speed ran them down, killing them instantly. The driver was taken into custody, and police are saying this possibly may be alcohol related, saying that possibly this could have been a drunk driver. The Queens District Attorney was here on the scene looking for himself at the situation. As you can see, it's a very gruesome scene here on the streets at Queens Boulevard and 83rd Avenue. The bodies were taken away a short time ago, and they are still gathering information about the names, the identities, the ages of these people who were killed so tragically. All right. So that's the situation now. We're still gathering information about the identities and exactly how this happened, but police are saying that this possibly was a drunk driver who was traveling at a very high speed, hit these people right here on Queens Boulevard and 83rd Avenue. Reporting live, now back to the studio.
Deborah, thanks very much for that update.
There's more ahead tonight, including a baby for a pair of pop stars, and we'll tell you about the very famous New Yorker who's soon going to be joining the cast of the Broadway hit Will Rogers' Follies. It could be the start of a whole new career.
And as promised, an singer Edie Brickell are the proud parents of a brand new baby boy tonight, born Monday, weighing 7 pounds 2 ounces. Adrian Edward Simon is that couple's first child, and that makes Paul Simon now the father of 2 kids. Congratulations to them.
Updating our top stories now, a terrible accident in Kew Garden, Queens tonight. 3 pedestrians struck and killed while crossing Queens Boulevard and 83rd Street. The driver of the car is in custody, and police say he may have been drunk. A hero firefighter makes headlines for the 2nd time. A man threatening suicide is rescued by firefighter Pat Barr in Washington Heights. Barr was also involved in a heroic fire rescue back in 1991. And Times Square is back to normal tonight, a stark contrast to last night's dropping of the ball. More than 300,000 packing Times Square to ring in the new year. And by this morning, cleaning crews have picked up most of the mess.
Popular New Year's tradition is to consult a psychic and try to get a leg up on the way the new year may unfold for all of us. Deborah Quintana talked with psychic Susan Buchanan earlier today.
So what are we in for in 1993? 'Tis the season for psychic predictions. For the last several years, the News at 10 has turned to psychic Susan Buchanan to conjure up premonitions. Buchanan was on the money, predicting the continued on and off again Donald and Marla saga. She predicted Liz Taylor would stay married, and indeed she did. Along the tabloid front, we ask about these celebs.
What about Woody and Mia? He will marry Soon-Yi. I see Madonna, and I don't want people to get upset. It's nothing serious, but I do see her in a hospital, and she's semi-conscious or unconscious, but it's nothing real terrible.
On the royal scandal front?
Princess Di, I see her involved with probably not could be an American. He's not English, and I see Fergie involved in another scandal and a criminal investigation.
On the international front, Buchanan predicts the U.S. withdraws from Somalia in July. but enters Yugoslavia with somewhat limited forces. Now, we hate to bring this up, but about last year's election prediction...
I see Bush being re-elected with a landslide.
Oh, well, you know, you can't win them all. And Miss Dixon, who's been right for 40 years, all of us, most of us were wrong. We're going to hear things about Hillary Clinton's past that will be mind-blowing. Yeah, I can't say what.
For sports fans, one last prediction. Dallas Cowboys take the Super Bowl. Deborah Quintana, Channel 11, News at 10.
And finally, 1 week from tomorrow, you may want to put this in your daybook. Mayor Dinkins is going to do something he's never done before. In fact, it's something that no New York City mayor has ever done before. He's going to have a part in a Broadway show, The Will Rogers Follies. Mayor Dinkins and Marla Maples teaming up and sharing the very same stage. Wonder if it's too late to get tickets. The mayor will play the part of Wiley Post for one night. That requires the mayor to sit in the balcony and recite a couple of lines. A number of other famous people have also agreed to perform guest shots in the show. George Steinbrenner, Lee Iacocca, it's a real star-studded lineup. Rush Limbaugh and Frank Gifford. So you can get tickets and go, you know, like every night they have a different guy in the balcony doing that.
You're well worth it.
Oh.
That's Channel 11 News for this Friday. I'm Kaity. Have a good weekend.
Yes, I'm Jack Cafferty. Thanks so much for being with us. We will see you on Monday. Cheers.